Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep into a super critical part of any machine learning project, model governance. We're going to stick with our ShopSmart example to see how they safely manage their models once they're built and ready to face the real world.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The data scientists over at ShopSmart, they built this fantastic churn prediction model. We're talking 83% accuracy. That's great. But having a model that works perfectly in a nice, clean notebook, well, that's one thing. Actually putting it into a live environment where it's making thousands of decisions a minute without setting anything on fire, that is a whole different ballgame. And this quote, oh man, this says it all, right? It works on my laptop. This is the classic problem, what we call the production paradox. A model can be a straight-A student in the controlled world of a data scientist's computer, but then it completely fails when it hits the messy, chaotic reality of live customer traffic. This is exactly what a good MLOps governance strategy is built to prevent. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to really unpack that production paradox. Then we'll introduce the awesome solution that ShopSmart put in place, the Model Registry. From there, we'll walk through exactly how they govern a model's lifecycle, their strategy for making models better over time, and finally, we'll talk about the huge business payoff that comes from doing all this right.
Yeah, that jump from the notebook to a live server is just massive. You're not just running a test on a file anymore. All of a sudden, you have to handle maybe 10,000 predictions every minute, keep things super fast, and this is crucial. You have to know instantly if a new model is doing worse than the old one, and you better have a plan to roll it back like right now.
So how in the world do you manage all that risk? Well, ShopSmart's answer was to implement what's called a model registry. You can think of this as the one single, undisputed source of truth for every model that is even being considered for production.
The best way to think about it is like an air traffic control system, but for your machine learning models. It's the gatekeeper. It makes sure that only the models that have been fully validated, tested, and officially approved get the green light to land in your production environment. Nothing gets past it without passing some serious checks.
And this just shows you that a registry is so much more than a glorified file folder. It's a full-on governance tool. You've got strict version control for every single change. You have stage management to control where model is allowed to run. You can track its entire history, its lineage, and you have a place to store all the important details, like its performance metrics and parameters. It's the whole shebang.
So all of this builds up to a really robust governance process. The registry basically enforces this strict, controlled pathway for every model. This makes it impossible for some experimental model that a data scientist is just playing with to accidentally end up making real decisions for your customers.
And this slide shows that four-stage journey perfectly. A brand new model starts with no stage at all. To move on, it has to be officially promoted to staging, where it gets put through its paces. If, and only if, it passes all those tests can it be promoted to production. And once a newer model takes its place, the old one gets moved to archived. It's not gone, it's just safely stored away in case you ever need to roll back.
Okay, so you have a great model running in production. Fantastic. But you can't just set it and forget it, right? You always want to be improving. So how do you do that without introducing a bunch of new risks? Well, this is where ShopSmart uses a really powerful strategy called champion versus challenger.
The whole strategy is built on this really clear separation of roles. The champion is the reigning king of the hill. It's the model that's live right now and has proven its worth. The challenger is the new contender, a new model that has to scientifically prove that it's actually better before it gets a chance to take the crown.
And we can see that whole strategy playing out right here in this table. Version 3.0, you can see, is our current champion in production. It has an F1 score of 0.75. And look, a new challenger, version 4.0, was just recently promoted to staging to see if it has what it takes. Now, hold on a second. If you look closely, the challenger's score is 0.74. That's actually a little bit worse than the champion's 0.75. You might be tempted to think, it's pretty close. Let's just deploy it. But deploying any new model has some risk, and ShopSmart has a very specific business rule to stop them from making changes that don't really move the needle.
And this is the key. Their governance rule is simple. A challenger doesn't just have to be better. It has to beat the champion's F1 score by at least a 2% margin. It has to be significantly better to be worth the risk and the effort of deploying something new.
So, because Challenger v4.0 didn't clear that plus 2% bar, the decision was easy. It was rejected. The promotion was denied, and the good, stable champion v3.0 stays right where it is, protecting the business from the potential dip in performance.
Now, this whole structured process is not just some technical thing for engineers to worry about. It delivers huge, tangible value to the business, and it really breaks down into these three key areas: trust, compliance, and safety.
This is where the rubber meets the road. If a bad model somehow gets out, they can hit the emergency brake and roll back to a stable version in less than 5 minutes. For the legal and compliance folks, they have a complete audit trail that shows exactly what data was used to train what model, which is a lifesaver for regulations like SOC 2 and GDPR. And they can safely test new models in what's called shadow mode, where the model sees live traffic but its predictions don't actually do anything. It's risk-free experimentation.
And speaking of GDPR, there's this huge piece of modern AI governance called explainability. And guess what? The Model Registry is absolutely vital for meeting this requirement too.
See, by versioning and storing their models, ShopSmart can use tools like SHAP. Now, that's a fancy name, but it just means they can look at any prediction and have the model explain why it made that decision. They can tell a customer, hey, the model predicted you might churn because your number of days since last order was high and your email open rate was low. That kind of transparency is everything for building trust and meeting these tough regulations.
So in the end, what ShopSmart did by bringing in a model registry was make a fundamental change to how they operate. They transformed model deployment from what was basically a high-stakes gamble into a controlled, repeatable, and governed strategy. And that's a strategy that builds trust with the business, guarantees compliance, and protects both their customers and their bottom line.